Pankaj Singh is a definition of relentless leadership, transformation, and true resilience. From humble beginnings to becoming a globally respected leadership strategist and executive coach, Singh has helped hundreds of entrepreneurs and executives break through their mental barriers to unlock unstoppable growth, both in business and in life. As the founder of Singh Leadership Academy and host of the Invincible Leader podcast, Singh combines battle tested leadership principles with human psychology to equip high performers with the tools to lead with clarity, conviction, and courage. His best selling book, Invincible Leadership, Build Your Mindset, Lead Like a Champion, Create Lasting Impact, has become a playbook for ambitious leaders worldwide, delivering actionable strategies for self-mastery and business excellence. What sets Singh apart is his ability to cut through the noise and get straight to the heart of what holds leaders back, be it fear, doubt, or overwhelm, and turn it into fuel for growth. His work isn't just about strategy. It's about rewiring mindset, mastering self leadership, and building a legacy of impact. If you're an entrepreneur, business owner, or executive looking to rise above the daily chaos and step into your full potential, this conversation will challenge you, inspire you, and give you the playbook for unstoppable leadership. And before we hop into the podcast, a quick word from our sponsor, Deep Wealth and the Deep Wealth Mastery Program. We have William, a graduate of Deep Wealth Mastery, and he says, I didn't have the time for Deep Wealth Mastery, but I made the time and I'm glad I did. What I learned goes far beyond any other executive program or coach I've ever experienced. Or how about Bruce? Bruce says, before Deep Wealth Mastery, the challenge I had with most business programs, coaches, or books was that they were one dimensional. Through Deep Wealth Mastery, I'm part of a richer community of other successful business owners. The idea shared forever changed the trajectory of the business, and best of all, the experience was fun. And we'll round things out with Stacy. Stacy said, I wish I had access to the Deep Wealth Mastery before my liquidity event, as it would have been extremely helpful. Deep Wealth Mastery exceeded my expectations in terms of content and quality. And you know what, my Deep Wealth Nation, why they're saying this is because Deep Wealth Mastery, it's the only system based on a 9-figure deal. That was my deal. And as you know, I said no to a 7-figure offer, and I created a system that we now call Deep Wealth Mastery that helped myself and my business partners welcome from a different buyer, a different offer, a 9-figure exit. So if you're interested in growing your profits, preparing for a future liquidity event, if that's 2 years away or 20 years away, and you want to optimize your post-exit life, Deep Wealth Mastery is for you. Please email success@deepwealth.com. Again, that's success, SUCCESS, at deepwealth.com. We'll send you all the information about Deep Wealth Mastery, otherwise known as Scale for Ultimate Sale. That's where you want to be. You want to be with other successful business owners, entrepreneurs, and founders just like you who are looking to create market disruptions, and they want to lock in their financial freedom and have success and fulfillment. That's the 90-day Deep Wealth Mastery program. It has your name on it. All you need to do is take the next step. Send an email to success@deepwealth.com. Welcome to another episode of the Deep Wealth Podcast. Well, Deep Wealth Nation, we have a saying here at Deep Wealth. The team and myself, the saying is, show us your team, show us your leadership, and we'll tell you your future. So let me ask you this, Deep Wealth Nation. Putting yourself aside, or maybe even including yourself, how is your leadership? Are you at the top of your game? Are you getting to the next level? Or maybe you can take it to the next level, but you're missing a few things. You don't know quite what that is, but you don't have the time. You don't want to spend the time, the money, the resources to get there. You're looking for some proven ways, perhaps some little known strategies that can help. That's exactly what we're going to be talking about today. We have a very special guest in the house of Deep Wealth, a fellow podcaster, entrepreneur, thought leader. Singh, it's an absolute pleasure to have you with us. Welcome to the Deep Wealth Podcast. And there's always a story behind the story. So Singh, what's your story? What got you from where you were to where you are today?
Thank you for having me, Jeff. I really appreciate it. I'll start this with the point of pivot in my life to this particular moment. Started in 2020, October, COVID, we had a ransomware attack, and I was a chief technology officer of the company. The short end of that is we came out of that in within 38, 40 hours without paying any ransomware. Kudos to my team, my leadership team, my vendors, my partners who all jumped on to help immediately. After that, I was invited in a lot of different webinars to talk about because ransomware attack is very severe, and to be able to come out of it is even more unique the way we did it. But what dawned on me is in the fourth, fifth interview, when I was listening to the same question, when it happened, how did you manage it? when the actual ransomware attack happened, what did you do, and step by step stuff like that. And I started thinking this is something that came very normal to me. I never panicked. I mean, I kept my team intact. I mean, nobody went off like everybody's asking about, right? And then I said, okay, there is something that I'm missing here, and I started reflecting back into my life. We're not traveling at that time. We have enough time. And what I identified a common thread is I actually was blessed enough to have a 2.5 month of mindful practice training from a Lama when I was 14 years old. And I've kept that with me without calling it mindful practice as a regular practice with me. So I have been through multiple situations that I have neutralized before it became a full blown conflict without even thinking about it that I'm doing it. And it all turned down when I started documenting and putting things together, it came out as two frameworks. So first framework is individual. So purpose, reflection, organizing your life around it. And then what do you need? Grit, resilience, empowerment, self-improvement, and support to be able to fulfill that purpose. So that was a progress framework. I started testing it out in 21, 22 with a lot of different individuals through LinkedIn. And it was all working fine, but they were not able to replicate and extend that beyond that one conversation that I was having with them. So I started looking into that. And what it boiled down to was I was sneaking in micro mindful practices in every conversation. And let me give this out to your listeners right now. I'll start this and there'll be a few other things I'll give. So, one of the things I used to do is for 25 years almost, any meeting I would have, no matter who it is, the first thing I would do in the meeting is take a deep breath and write down in 5 to 10 words what is the outcome I want from that meeting. The moment you have people ask that question, what you're doing is you are getting them out of their autopilot and bring them in the present moment. And when I did research, the fascinating thing that I have identified, and it actually got published by Deloitte also a few years back, the span of focus of an average human had gone down to 14 seconds, 12 seconds. And the statistics that were really bothering is that 90% of the leaders, when they come in a meeting for the first 10 minutes, they are not there. They're still thinking about the previous conversation. They're still thinking about previous whatever meeting they had or whatever task they left, and they're not in the moment there. So this exercise that I just said that, hey, right, what do you want out of this meeting? Goes a long way. And I have done some workshops with high school kids to get them off of their digital devices. I ask them every time you pick up the phone to scroll, ask two simple things. First, what is tangible I can get out of this right now? It can be happiness, it can be fun, it can whatever it is. But then the second question, if I was not doing that, what else I could be doing?
Wow. Okay. My goodness. So much there to unpack and quite the story of what's there. But let me go back to something that you said. You put it out there, Deep Wealth Nation. I don't know if you picked up on this. It's very easy to overlook. So you had some perhaps training, mentorship with a Lama. So for those that aren't familiar with that term or what that's about,
Mm.
particularly here in the West, what is that exactly? And let's go down a little bit of that Lama rabbit hole because that is so important. And to me, I couldn't agree more with everything that you're saying. It's one of the most missed opportunities and leadership strategies out there with what you're about to share with us. So, what was going on with that?
So Lama essentially is a monk, Buddhist monk. They're called lamas. And I was very hyper as a kid. So very early, it was a joint family, very affluent family, and I was an attention seeker right from the get-go, right? So I was 3 years old, and my parents introduced me to Indian classical percussion. So back in those days, I don't want to age myself, but back in those days, there was no ADHD or any those terms that were
Uh-huh.
used, right?
Nice.
And then no medication for that. So the
Uh-huh.
only medication for that was timeout. So the timeout for me was to play Indian percussion instruments. And by age of 13, I already had postmasters in Indian percussion instrument, but my hyperness never went away. So anytime I would get, if somebody crossed on the street and they looked in my eye, there's 80% chance that I'm going to have a fight. So when I was 14 and about to start the serious education and everything else, my parents had me go to Tibet to Lama, and I stayed there for 2.5 months.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned the true mindful practice there. In the 4 decades since then, again, I'm dating myself. In the 4 decades since then, I have been able to make those into micro practices.
Okay.
So when I talk about mindful practice, the myth is that you have to pull a yoga mat and you have to twist your body in 10 different ways for 2 hours, right? Or you have to go on a retreat somewhere to learn something. No, nothing. It all starts with a simple thing that we take for granted. And that simple thing that we take for granted is our breath. A human's life starts with a breath and ends with the exhalation. But 99% of people, we take it for granted. We don't even focus on your breath. And the very first thing to get in the moment, get in the present moment, is to see, are you breathing? You're alive, you're breathing, but can you feel your breathing? It does not need any yoga mat. It does not need any retreat. It does not need anything. But just close your eyes, take a deep breath, and feel where that breath is going.
And so, with that, and I couldn't agree more with you, it's all about the breath. And I can't tell you how many entrepreneurs I have lost count of entrepreneurs, founders, business owners, when they're in the deep wealth community. One of the things that we talk about is mindfulness, getting to that good state. And we even talk about meditation and saying the common thing that I hear is, well, Jeffrey, I've tried meditation. I've listened to recordings. I've tried the apps. I've even gone to some classes. I can't do it after 30 seconds, a minute. My mind chatters all over the place. I feel frustrated. I feel tense. It's just not working. So I've just given up. I've stopped. And I know for myself, I'm very fortunate. That wasn't my experience. It took a while. I do meditate. And to your point, when I let my body do what it needs to do, by the time I come out of that meditation, my breathing is calm. It is deep. My mindfulness, being in the moment, it's 20 minutes. Coming out of that, though, I feel like I had an 8 hour sleep. It's really beyond words. So, for an entrepreneur, we're burning it at both ends, and we don't often have the energy. We're not getting the sleep that we should. We're suffering. It's like the thief in the night robbing us of success. And before we go on and talk about leadership and these wonderful things that you're doing, so with what you learned from the Lama, with the breathing, being in the moment, what would you tell if I was one of your clients? I'm either an entrepreneur or an executive. I'm coming to you. We're doing some one on one coaching and you want to take me to the next level. When it comes to breathing, even before I start my day, what would you be sharing with us?
So I would give a very simple micro exercise, but before I do that, just to make sure we understand the common term, when people talk about mindfulness, they think about stopping the brain. There's no stopping the brain. You cannot stop the brain, right? The five senses, it can be 12 depending on the school of thought that you have, but the basic five senses that we have, human body is the best engineering marvel on this earth, right?
Mhm.
And the brain is capturing data 24/7. So mindfulness means, can you feel and understand what is filled in your mind? So what is mind? There's something called mind in science. But let's go back to a simple scientific thing as brain. Your brain is capturing data 24/7. And mindful practice just means to tap into that, right? To be able to tap into that in the present. Why that is important is very critical to understand.
Okay.
Brain being the laziest thing in our body, if you do the same activity same way 10 times, 11th time, it goes in autopilot, right? And neurons are fighting in a way that they are thinking you are in fight and flight mode when it is autopilot.
Hmm.
And that's your amygdala taking over the control. When that happens, think about it, right? When there's a chaos and you get into surviving mode, what do? You cut down all other resources, right? You
Sure.
just have the bare minimum to stay alive. That's what we are doing with our body, letting our brain run in autopilot. The thing about just feeling your breath, the moment you feel your breath, you are telling your brain, I am going to shut off the autopilot. You're breathing on autopilot. You never feel your heart, you never feel your lungs, you never feel your kidney, nothing, right? It's just happening on autopilot. But the moment you break for a second, you are activating the prefrontal cortex, which is your logical brain, right? So the very simple thing I would ask people, two very simple things, right? Whenever you wake up in the morning and you get out of bed, you stand, feel the feet, right? What I mean by that is you might have stood on that carpet, you would have stood on that tile, you would have stood on that wood 200 times. But trust me, believe me, next time when you get out of bed, stand there and just feel the sensation.
Yeah, so interesting. And Singh, as you're talking about this, I'm thinking of really any number of members in the deep wealth community. They're saying, okay, Singh, I hear you. You seem like a smart guy, but come on, what is getting up in the morning, standing, feeling the floor below me? What does it have to do with my business, with profits, with taking my future to the next level? What would you say to that?
So that very first thing of feeling your feet is to bring you in present. 90% of the time, we are doing something that we are not present there. It's just happening with us. So I meet with leaders. I have been there, right? I gave an example of ransomware attack. I did not panic. I did not panic. I did not allow my team to panic. And I did not have to work hard for that. It was just the training I have been teaching them for whatever number of years they have worked with me without telling it is mindful practice, which is whenever we sit down, let's forget about the problem. Let's talk about what we're trying to get out of this conversation right now. How many times you as a leader walk in the meeting and not you, but everybody in the room has clarity of what every individual wants out of this. So the idea of micro mindful practice is knowing that average span of focus has gone down to 14 seconds. Can we create something that stays with us for more than 14 seconds to intervene and create an intervention for the autopilots that's going to come? I'll give you two very good examples. I have a very good friend here who is a marshal and fire department. And the very first time I sat down with him and his team, I explained them how they have designed their brain, they have wired their brain to wait for that panic button, right? So they are waiting on that buzz. Even if they don't have anything going on and they have the buzzer, they cannot sleep because they're in that anticipation of the buzzer to go off, which will give them that adrenaline to run and do something.
Sure.
So that's what is called firefighting, and why it's and we don't have that, right? I
Mhm.
mean, if you don't pick up your phone, look at that phone unless somebody is calling you, trust me, if somebody needs you that desperately for your business,
Uh-huh.
they will know how to find you. You don't have to look at your phone 24/7.
And so, what I'm hearing you say with this, when we take something really as sublime as getting up for the day, feeling what's below our feet, we are training ourselves. And by the way, you're right. Oh my goodness, this carpet that I have, or this area rug, or this hardwood floor, I never noticed perhaps how warm it feels, or how plush it is. Or now on the bed, just to carry on with your example, wow, my bed sheets are so soft, so fluffy. And we can just go on and on with that. But what I'm hearing you say, and you can say, Jeffrey, on base or off base, when we start with ourselves, when we start with the mundane things, when we not have that as a to do, but we actually make it a ritual, it just becomes a part of us in terms of what we're doing. Naturally, that'll flow into every part of our life. And in the business realm, well, you know what? I see Mary over there. She doesn't look like her usual self. Let me get curious, Mary, what's going on? I've noticed every day you're like this, but today you're not. Is there something you want to share with me? And that we're just picking up on these details that not only are we a better leader, we're just a better person. We're more in tune, a better family member, a better friend, a better colleague. How am I doing with that?
Absolutely. That's exactly the point. So I was going there. You start with yourself. The moment you do that, you did two things. The first thing, you intervened your brain before it went into autopilot that every morning you get up and go coffee and do this and do that. You intervened and started your brain. Your brain now starts thinking that, okay, Jeffrey is serious today. I need to focus on what he wants.
Sure.
But the second thing that you're doing, you are getting in control of your emotions
Hmm.
because you're feeling the sensation, you're labeling it. It is cold, it is warm, right? And anything, it's said in business, right? Anything that you can monitor and measure, you can fix.
So, another way of saying that in business speak, hey, Jeffrey, you're going to get to know the KPIs of what makes you tick. Whereas before you're on autopilot, you're not really paying attention.
Mhm.
Perhaps you're feeling tense or angry. You don't even notice it. Now you do. And now you can do something about that. Hey, oh my goodness, I feel tense. Why am I feeling tense? What's causing this? Oh,
Right.
it's that issue there. My goodness, I was ignoring that. Let me put some attention to that so I can dissipate that.
So I'll add to that, extend that a little further because I have
Sure.
got a very deep analytics background professionally. Not only that, now Jeffrey starts getting to look at the KPIs. If you start doing that, you will start identifying which of those are leading indicators,
Okay.
right? I'm in a meeting, I snapped at someone. That is like looking at a report at end of the month to see what the sales numbers are. There's nothing you can do about it,
Love that.
right?
Yes.
But if you know the math behind that number, that I have 10 people, they have to get X number of meetings, Y number of presentations, that will lead into this many contracts, that will lead into this sales number that I want. Now
Mhm.
you have created the leading indicators to get to the final result. So if I want business owner, like Jeffrey comes to me as my client and he says, Singh, what do I do? The
Mhm.
first thing I tell him is, okay, go back and look at the backward engineering of that math. You snapped. What happened before that snap, right? You were irritated because John was interrupting you in the conversation. Okay. What did that feel like? So emotions are not bad. Emotions are the data points that's telling us something in the system is wrong.
I like that. So emotions are heads up. Hey,
Had, mm,
something's off base, particularly if not to put labels per se. I guess I am going to put a label, particularly if it has us feeling sad or angry or
mhm.
frustrated or anxious or worried, as opposed to joy or, hey, I feel fulfilled. I feel happy. I really like that. Yeah.
And then I tell people that, okay, the way you look at your business, you look at your
Mhm.
KPIs, maybe your sales is doing good,
Mhm.
but there are other things that you can see that, okay, my retention, I'm dropping in retention, which means even though today the new sales is good, because I'm losing in retention, my future business will be damaged, right? Now put that in terms of emotions. Yes, I'm able to control the emotion in one part of my life, but I'm not able to control emotions in other part of the life. So to be able to solve that, people need to improve their emotional vocabulary. What I mean by that. So John was interrupting Jeffrey and Jeffrey was getting irritated. Let's expand that vocabulary to say, were you feeling rushed to finish your presentation? Were you feeling anxious of what questions might come because John is interrupting, right? Were you
Mhm.
anxious? So is it just that irritation or this is something below that irritation that is causing that? Those are like looking at those metrics to tell business folks how you can bring your team together in a much
Mhm.
better fashion.
So now that we've laid the foundation from one comment that was very easy to overlook, saying where you said, yes, I saw a Lama when I was very young and I had ADHD and had other kinds of issues, and it really helped me become the success I am today. So, what you've been sharing with us is really a terrific segue of a question I've been wanting to ask you. And that is from all the coaching that you're doing, again, with the executives, with the entrepreneurs, with what I'm going to ask, seeing you'd be perfectly right to say, Jeffrey, everyone is different. Each person has their own individual journey, what's going on in their life. It's not going to be exactly the same. But that aside, generally speaking, what would be perhaps the biggest, I'll call it invisible, leadership trap that most entrepreneurs, executives, successful people are falling into and they don't even know it? Is there a common pattern? Is it Pareto's law, the 80-20 principle? Yes, Jeffrey, 20% of these things over here are causing 80% of the challenges over there. What's going on?
So there's two things that's causing it. And
Okay.
it's common across. Anybody who is burning, it's because of two things.
Okay.
Anybody who is having burnout is because of two things. The very first thing is we have grown, trained, and acknowledged the dog eat dog mentality,
Okay.
right? Cutthroat, I need results. You have to suck it in. You have to get through it. You have to be macho, right? So that is, I'm trying to break that with leadership teams to say, no, you can be vulnerable. It is not a bad thing to be vulnerable. It is not a bad thing to say, I don't know. It's not a bad thing to say, I need more time. It's not a bad thing to say, I made a mistake, right? That is one thing that's happening. Now, the question becomes why people are, if you go back to John Maxwell's leadership, 21 rules of leadership, the
Hmm.
very first rule of leadership is the law of the lid, right? You put lid on something and you don't let that out, that person is never going to grow. That's
Sure.
what leaders are doing today with their emotions. The more you hide and press your emotion, it is like one of those friends that does not just say, I'm going to come, they actually come.
Uh-huh. Okay. Okay. And that's why, Deep Wealth Nation, that's why waking up first thing in the morning, what's under my feet, as crazy as that sounds, that's the first, pun intended,
Mhm.
step for us becoming aware fully of everything around us, not just personal, but on the business side.
Now, there's a second part to it. I said there are two things, right? There's the second
Yes.
part of it. The second part is that living in this rat race day in and day out, we ignore to acknowledge that we are individual humans and we have a purpose, right? My purpose is when I say purpose, we define it as what is the best I have to be able to give to Jeffrey so he can use it. So now put that in the business context.
Okay.
If I am a CEO, what is the best I have that I can give to my employees? Beyond salary. I'm not talking about salary. They get come work, they get salary, right? There are three different types of CEOs that I meet. There is one CEO that is a micromanager. They need to know every single minute of what's happening in every team member. And there you will see that revolving door, people coming in and out, in and out. It does not work. They need to back off and understand. You need to work on your business, not in your business when you're at that level. There is a second extreme of CEO that just sits and waits for money to come through. The true CEO is somewhere in middle. And that's where we try to bring people from the two extremes to the middle to say, how can we bring the millennia old practices of believing in your breath? And what is that breath of your business?
Wow, so interesting in terms of what's there. And as you're talking about that, one of my favorite studies that it's not that old, but it's been out there for a short little while, and it's by Glassdoor. And Deep Wealth Nation, if you're not familiar with Glassdoor, check it out. Actually, in the Deep Wealth Mastery Program, one of the things that we have you do for step four due diligence is your company on Glassdoor? Do you have existing team members? And I call team members instead of employee a team member. Are your team members talking about you? And if they are, what are they saying? If you're not on Glassdoor, well, you should be on Glassdoor. You should have ratings from your various team members. But what they say is when they ask different employees, what's either keeping you at your company, or if this is a new opportunity, what had you go to this new opportunity? Perhaps you left an opportunity that you're there for 5 years, 10 years, or longer. And to everyone's surprise, seeing it wasn't money. It was either leadership and culture or lack of leadership and culture. So back to the point of what you're saying, if I become the best possible leader that I can, my team is going to feel it. The culture is going to benefit from that. It creates a cascading effect, a win-win-win all the way around. I would love your thoughts on that.
It does. So there's a framework that I have is called PIP. So PIP it stands for passion and energy in your action.
Okay.
First, that's the first one, right? That really goes back to say, if you know your purpose of what is the best you have to give to others and you're actually participating, do you know what are the areas that frustrates you in the day? How can you minimize that? So I'll give you an example. Somebody who is a strategist to start new projects. If you put that kind of person into a job where they have to manage day-to-day hourly work,
Mm-hmm.
they will get frustrated. So the people that you have with you, do you know what frustrates them, what fulfills them? Yes, people are there just to get the paycheck. If they get a bigger paycheck, they will leave you, right? So to be able to move beyond just the salary and the benefit I'm giving, what truly we are doing there on a daily basis, weekly, whatever your weekly goal is. The bigger piece that you called out, the bigger point that you called out is there is a lack of empathy, and that lack of empathy starts with us individually. And that's where we have to reflect a little bit on ourselves to say, are we being truly empathetic to ourselves first before we
Mm-hmm.
can be empathetic to others? Is it truly fair for me to respond every single email, even if it's coming middle of the night, to show
Mm-hmm.
that I am part of it? No,
Mm-hmm. Sure.
that's a very simple thing, right? But the very first thing I tell my folks is you are not sleeping, you are not on night duty. So either you are having party or binge watching something when you should be sleeping and being prepared to come in 100% next day morning. So
Mm-hmm.
if you're trying to impress that, hey, I was able to respond to this within whatever. Now, yeah, I get it. If somebody is on the call, something happens with the system, you better be there. That's a job. That's a job that you have signed up for. That if there's an emergency and you're supposed to be there, you better be there. That's the one thing that I always press on is to say, let's start with the empathy on ourselves.
Talk to us about that though. Empathy for ourselves, because you're right. I know for myself, putting myself under the microscope as an entrepreneur, I'm hard on myself. I miss something. Wow, there's an inner dialogue that's going on with myself, not just right after that happens, but it can be for quite some time afterwards. So, saying, what would be some strategies? How do we become more empathetic, or dare I use the words, how do we love ourselves? Perhaps where we've never done that for ourselves before. What should we be doing? What can we do?
So there are certain frameworks that I always share with folks. The very first is stop, STOP. And it's very easy to put that into practice. And that is to say, if you're driving, most of us we drive in at least in the states here, or you are in a traffic and you see a red signal next time. Just remember stop.
Hmm.
What that means is you stop whatever you are doing and pick the last thought that comes to you, right? That's the T. Then O stands for observe how your body is feeling when you're thinking about that, and then put a name to that, and then move forward.
Okay.
I think you mentioned this earlier, a little earlier, that hey, somebody starts and says, I cannot sit for more than 2 minutes. So when I have people start working on mindfulness, the very first thing that they come to realize is how loud the mind is.
Yes.
Because, like I said, the brain is always running 24/7 with all the data.
Hmm.
But then, if you put that into mindful micro practices, micro journaling, right? And that's the second thing I tell people to do is put a random 8 alarm on your phone, 8 times in a day, put alarm on your phone.
Okay.
Whenever that goes off, write the first 5 to 10 words that comes to your mind, right? And do it for 1 week, 10 days. Don't go back and read what you wrote. Don't write. I'm not asking you to write a journal. I'm not asking you to write a novel.
Mhm.
Just first 5 to 10 words that comes to you. Do it 8 times in a day. It can be as simple as I'm eating food or I'm driving. You don't have to waste your time and analyze. That's the whole point is what is the first 5, 10 words coming? After 10 days, you go back and look at those things and reflect. When I said this, what was I doing? And that is the way of understanding how your brain is reacting to the memory of the cells in rest of your body.
So let me ask you this, because as you're talking about this, I love, absolutely appreciate and admire how you're tying this all together, because so often in business, it's really one-sided in the sense that, okay, Jeffrey, it's just the numbers, it's just the performance, it's just the data, the KPIs, and we're leaving outside of that us as a person. I'm
Mm.
not to doing, I'm a being. And as I often say here in the People podcast, whoever said that business wasn't personal either was never in business, never owned a business, never ran a business. It's everything personal business. And so I would love to hear your thoughts, Singh. How do you see the connection when it comes to leadership and health, when it comes to mental, emotional, and physical aspects?
Oh my God, that's a big one. The reason I got into this was because in this whole field for last 1 year that I have been in seeing people getting down to the point where they were not just burned, they were getting mentally ill. The problem with our society is that as you grow in leadership, 80% of us we become isolated because either because of fear that we cannot share these strategies. I'll give you an example. Last year about this time I was working with a CEO of a company. They had acquired a couple of companies about a year back, and now they were at a point where they had to let go of 60 people, big number for them, out of 300. And when you are making those kind of decisions, you cannot even talk to your spouse about those things. But think about the pressure, the emotional pressure that you're going through. So we have the tendency of not having a support system for leaders. And whenever I'm asked this question, I do get this question asked, why should I get a coach? And I say it this way. My response always is, when you grew up and you played sports, when did you play the best? Oh, when I had this coach. Okay, so you played something when you had a coach. Now you're investing in all those things. Who's your coach in this? So my point of saying is people are getting isolated. On top of that, there is this societal pressure that if you're a leader, you're not supposed to have vulnerability.
Mm-hmm.
When you're a leader, you are supposed to suck it in. If you're a leader, you're not supposed to show anyone any kind of weakness. That's full of crap. The second big problem that we have is if you look at medical insurance providers and the workplace benefit, if you're getting a workplace benefit at an employer, there's not a single insurance plan in the United States that covers for mental health. You have a declared clinical condition and you need a psychologist. So why are we not helping our team members? And again, people think that, okay, I'm sucking it in, but everything is fine. No, nothing is fine
Uh-huh.
because you don't live this life individually. Let me turn around and ask these leaders who think that they have got everything under control. When was the last time they spoke with their spouse? I did this on Sunday. This Sunday, I was coaching a couple, power couple. They both have a huge business. They run it. And I just said, dude, very good friend of mine. I said, dude, you're saying you are present. When was you said, I love you to your wife? So he said, oh, this morning. I said, okay, you remember you said this morning. Do you remember what was the reaction on her face after you said that? Do you remember what was the aroma in the room when you said that? So bringing human back in leader is not just good for business. It starts with your individual self on all levels. Your individual self, not only for the business to grow it, you also have to grow yourself. And the way you grow yourself is to have a healthy relationships, and to have healthy relationship, you have to be present. You have to invest in it. Whether it is office, whether it is home, it doesn't make a difference. So you have to be present, and it starts with understanding how you're breathing. Get back to it. There's no yoga mat needed. You don't have to twist your body in 200 ways. Just get back to the present moment. Day you have your present moment, I call it presence power.
Mm.
The moment to moment awareness for full engagement. That's the first step. The moment you do that, you immediately are able to control your emotions. because now you are engaging your frontal cortex, that is
Hmm.
logical. So it allows you to respond rather than react. And when you do that, it increases your cognitive clarity because your frontal cortex engages with those parts of your brain that has all the information stored, and it can collect and give you a logical thing. And then you can take intentional, compassionate action.
Yeah, so Singh, as you're talking about this, my goodness, there is so much going on here. But as you're talking about this, for the listener in Deep Wealth Nation, they are hearing this. Let's talk about the before and after, and whether it's a specific situation where you're working with an entrepreneur, founder, business owner who came to you and they're having some challenges, or generally speaking, you typically tend to see this. Where are most people starting from? And once they've worked with you, where do they end up? What does that look like?
I get folks join my program from all spectrum of life. So I have got some youngsters who have just started their business. I also have some people like you mentioned. I mean, they have been 4 or 5 decades. I've got a couple of people who have third generation in business. And that's what took the longest time for me, is to come up with micro practices that can be used in different situations. So
Okay.
there's a framework that I use. It's called Awake. So when
Hmm.
you're feeling emotionally hijacked, and being able to get that awareness of what I'm feeling and what I do right now so I can get over and pivot to something else. Similarly, how can I reset myself into the present, right? Being able to tie back to the value that I have. So, whenever that people engage with me, I always start with two common things for everyone, no matter who you are. The very first thing is, let's work on your purpose. Let's understand what is the best you have to give to others so that we can understand you can be in a paradigm that you love, you're excelling, and
Hmm.
we need to figure out how to give you a boost in that paradigm. You are coming completely burnt out, and we need to change the paradigm that you're living. Either way, you need to understand what your purpose is. So we have a purpose assessment now that we give folks at 20 minutes. It tells you, what are your natural advantages? Here are your full passion. This is your origin strength. And based on that, we come and say, okay, you get frustrated by these 10 things, how we can minimize so you don't have to do that work. How do we organize your life, your work, so you don't have to do what frustrates you and get you out of there first. The second thing, everybody, no matter who it is, everyone gets the micro journaling exercise with me. If you get on my program, you're going to take that, I said, 8 times a day. You write what comes to your mind. You do that 10 days. Don't go back and read it. 11th day, we sit down. And for each of those moments that you have written, we go through one husband, five wives. So the five wives are what, when, why, where, who, and the husband is how. So what were you doing? What were you feeling? Again, the reason of doing that exercise, people get it once they do it, is like I said, the brain is collecting information 24/7. Do you have the presence to collect it? Now, just again, that's where that macro journaling for 10 days, you come back and look at 11th day, you will see patterns of how you are having roller coaster day. Now you start getting into, okay, why I'm having this roller coaster day.
And so, really, if I take a step back, seeing what I'm hearing you say is to be the most effective leader that I can, to be firing on all cylinders. And I'm going to use the F word, fun, to have some fun as well. That's really not going to be possible unless I go within myself and I'm able to get the best out of me before I can expect to get the best out of anyone else. And as I'm talking about that, I'm thinking of that saying, be the change that you want to see in other people, have it start with you. So have that really start with me. I'm curious, I'm interested, I'm picking up on the details to support my team. They know that I'm there for them and that I'll walk the walk for them to give them the confidence and to have them want to help, to really want to make a difference. But that would not be possible if I'm not fully aware of the present moment, how I'm feeling, where I'm at, before I can extend that to my team. How am I doing with that?
Beautiful. So the way I explain people is I go back to something that has been there for ages, right? And everybody
Mm-hmm.
accepts it. And that's Maslow's theory. Maslow's theory has 5 layers to it. You start with your immediate personal thing, then you get into next layer, and then the ultimate is your self-realization.
Mm-hmm.
Now I bring in science to it and say, okay, if we just look at the geometry of this triangle, the amount of space needed to fulfill the first line takes the most time for all human beings. Then you get to the next one where it takes more time. Then it takes that time to get there. But
Mm-hmm.
what if, let's take the concept of minimum viable product today with Agile. We
Mm-hmm.
talk about what is a minimum viable product that we can get out there so we can start getting people engaged and we can get more revenue while we're building other functionalities. Let's do the same with our life. Let's create that minimum viable self that I can get to the realization all the way. And then I have the opportunity to be able to filling those things as I grow broader in my wealth, whether it is my personal wealth, whether it is my emotional wealth, whether it is my spiritual wealth. If I create that, instead of filling the triangle completely level by level, let's create two straight lines in the middle and go faster up and then keep fulfilling everything. So most of the people who are successful, they did not have everything before they got to that level of being able to give back.
Okay, got that. And as you're going through this, I'm just reflecting on what you're sharing. And again, Default Nation, are you picking up on this? These are little known strategies. You don't hear a lot of them out there. But to me, this would be the secret sauce in terms of how to get to the next level. And seeing as you're talking about this, I'm actually reflecting on my own journey where, if I'm honest about it, when I first started, I was a terrible leader. I had no experience, didn't really know what I was doing. I was either too hard on people or I was just not there enough in helping them. And eventually, over time, I learned. And I learned because I was paying more attention to myself, exactly like what you're saying. And so there's so much there. Start with ourselves and have that be the example. And when we're curious, when we're able to pick up on the details, when we get out of our head and into the present moment, that's really where the magic happens. So that said, Singh, before we go into wrap up mode, I know there are so many questions I have not yet had a chance to ask. Is there one question that I didn't ask that you'd like to share with the Default Nation? Perhaps a topic, a message, a theme that we haven't yet covered?
So one thing is giving up. So we are designed for instant gratification. If we don't get instant gratification, we give up.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it is a program, whether it is coaching, whether it is swimming, whatever it is, right? We commit to it. We don't get instant gratification, we give up. With micro practices, two things that I want people to understand. With micro practices, it is designed to take less than 14 to 16 seconds to put you into practice of experiencing something. And the more you experience, the more you will get engaged in that program. The
Mm-hmm.
second thing I always tell people today, whoever you are, at whatever age, you are the result of everything that you have gathered to the age of your coming. Now, to untangle that, it's not going to happen all in one night. So, if you think that you can go to a retreat for 2 days and come out as a Zen person, that's not going to happen. If you think that you can get on a gym machine and run 3 days and lose weight, it's not going to happen. What we are talking about is rewiring our brain, going back to the basics of the three simple things that human, the breath for defining biologically that you're alive, that's breath, your presence, to be able to tap into the huge amount of data being processed in our brain. And third, self empathy.
Okay, so there you have it, Default Nation, in terms of how we can look at this, what we should be doing, how we should be approaching this. And what I like about this thing, if I'm hearing you correctly, and you can share Jeffrey on base or off base just before we go into wrap up mode, so often, I know for myself and so many other entrepreneurs, we get to a point we just feel trapped where it's constant firefighting mode, to use your words. And you've been sharing with us the first thing that we need to do is to really break free and get back that control, lose those golden handcuffs or those shackles, because we started our business for a reason. Oftentimes we lose sight of that. And this is certainly one way to do that and hopefully have some fun along the way. So, speaking of fun, and all that said, is now really our tradition here at the Deep Wealth Podcast. It's my pleasure, it's my privilege, it's my honor for every guest to ask the same question. It's a fun question. Let me set this up for you. Singh, imagine the movie Back to the Future. You have that magical DeLorean car that can take you to any point in time. So it's now tomorrow morning, and this is the fun part. You look outside your window, not only is the DeLorean car curbside, the door is open, it's waiting for you to hop on in what you do. You're not going to go back to any point in your life. Sing as a young child, a teenager, whatever point in time that would be. What would you tell your younger self in terms of life lessons, life wisdom, or hey, Sing, do this, but don't do that? What would that sound like?
The only thing I'll say to my younger self coming out of, I'm getting goosebumps already, coming out of that training with Lama, I would ask my younger self, never back off because people think this is woo woo. Never back off because there is taboo on this world. The
Mm,
name of mindfulness or whatever. Not only you continue doing yourself the way you have done with hundreds of people, make it more formal early on so you can have a bigger impact on humanity.
absolutely love those insights and what you're sharing out there. So, hey, just because people don't agree with you, just because you're going against the grain, just because it's taboo, as you're sharing with us, Don't bag off. Bring your gift to the world, share it with everyone, make the world a better place. Terrific message. And Singh, as we wrap things up here, a listener, they have a question. They want to speak with you. Perhaps they even want to have some coaching with you or their team and with you. Where would be the best place online to reach you?
Two places. So first is my website, singleadership.com, and on LinkedIn page, singleadership.com. That's the easiest way to get hold of me.
And Deep Wealth Nation, it does not get any easier. This is all in the show notes. It's a point and click for you. Go there, reach out to Singh, ask those questions. You'll come out a whole lot better than when you came in. And so that said, Singh, congratulations. It's official. This is a wrap. As we love to say here at Deep Wealth, may you continue to thrive and prosper while you remain healthy and safe. Thank you so much. So there you have it, Deep Wealth Nation. What did you think? So with all that said, and as we wrap it up, I have another question for you. Actually, it's more of a personal favor. Did you find this episode helpful? Have you found other episodes of the Deep Wealth Podcast empowering and a game changer for your journey? And if you said yes, and I really hope you did, I have a small but really meaningful way that you can actually help us out and keep these episodes coming to you. Are you ready for it? The dramatic pause. I'll just wait a moment. Drum roll, please. Subscribe. Please subscribe to the Deep Wealth Podcast on your favorite podcast channel. When you subscribe to the Deep Wealth Podcast, you're saving yourself time. Every episode automatically comes to you. And I want you to know that we meticulously craft every one of our episodes to have impactful strategies, stories, expert insights that are designed to help you grow your profits, increase the value of your business, and yes, even optimize your post-exit life and your life right now, whatever you want that to look like. And every time you subscribe and a fellow entrepreneur subscribe, it's a testament to how together, yes, we are changing the social fabric of society. One business owner at a time, one liquidity event at a time. So don't let the momentum stop here. Subscribe now on your favorite podcast channel. You'll never miss an episode. You'll be the first to hear from the top industry leaders, the innovators, the disruptors that are really changing and shaping the business world. And maybe you're commuting, maybe you're at the gym, maybe you're taking a well-deserved break that we spoke all about on this episode. The Deep Wealth Podcast, it's your reliable source for the next big idea that could literally revolutionize your business. So once again, please hit that subscribe button, stay connected, inspired, and ahead of the curve. And again, your next big breakthrough moment, it might just be one episode away. Maybe it was even this episode. So all that said, thank you so much for listening. And remember, your wealth isn't just about the money in the bank. It's about the depth of your journey and the impact that you're creating. So let's continue this journey together. And from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for listening to this episode. And as we love to say here at Deep Wealth, may you continue to thrive and prosper while you remain healthy and safe. Thank you so much. God bless.